Welcome to the Entrepreneur Channel podcast. Woo! We have one more entrepreneur that's due, but apparently he's driving around Ashford looking for a parking spot. So he should be here by next Wednesday. Yeah. No, if Sam joins us, then he'll join us on the stage when he gets here. But we have three fantastic entrepreneurs that we're going to talk to this morning. Let me just run through the format, and then I'm going to introduce my my lovely partner in crime. We have three very successful entrepreneurs from very different backgrounds and very different industries, with a wealth of knowledge, even though they're all still children, all still very young, but they've been doing loads of great stuff in the world of work. So it's a good opportunity for you to kind of pick their brains and find out about their experiences. Gill and I are going to ask a couple of questions of them to get started, but then show of hands, if you want to ask them a question, just put your hand up and we'll come and put a microphone in your face. Okay, my name is Paul Andrews. I'm the presenter of the world famous Business Bunker radio show. And nobody's heard of it here. Thank you. Thank you. My lovely co-host is Gill Monk. Gill is from All Health Matters. And we're going to be hosting the event this morning. So what I'd like to do is hand over to Gill to ask our panel the first question.
Are you going to introduce our panel?
No, you can ask them to introduce themselves.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good
the first
idea.
question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just sorting out the teething troubles here. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Heather, founder of the Curly Girl Method Club, and I developed a range of hair products for people with wavy and curly hair in a completely unrepresented market.
Hi, I'm Laura Bounds. I am a Kent food and drink entrepreneur. I have 4 businesses in Kent, 1 wholesale, Curd and Cure, and the other 3 brands, Kent Crisps, Kentish Condiments and Kentish Oils, and a Little Bit Food Company.
Hi, I'm James Gardner, serial entrepreneur with 6 businesses operating out of Kent, and I also am a business coach and mentor as well.
Cool. Thank you for that. Chaps, can I start off by asking you all the first question, and I'll throw the mic to whoever wants to answer it first. Can you tell us, 1, when you launched your business, and 2, more importantly, what inspired you to launch your business?
I launched my business in 2017 purely by almost an accident, really. I had a recruitment company and an estate agent business, so I was very used to sort of the normal blue-collar working. And when I was on maternity leave, I decided I was going to embrace my hair, and I went into the supermarkets to look for products for my hair and realised that we were completely underrepresented. So 55% of people have wavy or curly hair, yet the whole shelf space is designed for people with straight hair. So when I started looking into it, it made me absolutely furious, and I decided amongst all the other things I was doing, I was also going to take on that problem and try and represent us in a market and develop a range of products to help people feel better about their hair they were born with.
Fantastic. Thank you, Heather. I'm an avid user of your products. Laura.
I have a bit of a different story. So all of my businesses were management buyouts. Basically, well, apart from one, they were all taken by me from insolvency. It's something that you've got to have quite thick skin for, is to manage an insolvent business into profit, and it's something I thrive on, and certainly probably one of my specialities now. So my first business was Kent Crisps, which I did a management buyout for in 2017. I was the commercial director before and had worked in the business for about 4 years before buying it out. And that's the story. So I can't say I'm a founder, although I founded lots of brands, products, MPD within the businesses. But all of them were management buyouts and insolvency businesses.
Thank you, Laura. that's a fascinating part of the story, and something that I want to explore later in this, because we don't always think about that as a way of starting a business. You know, a lot of people just start a business from scratch. Some people buy a franchise, but of course, as James knows as well, because he's done some similar things, buying an already kind of functioning business is also a route into entrepreneurialism. So thank you. We'll explore that more. James.
So yeah, I started a business with my brother back in 2000, which was a manufacturing business. And as a good entrepreneur, it started on my sister-in-law's dressing table in their bedroom with a laptop and a fan machine. And we grew it from there to a multi-international brand and ended up selling that about 7 years ago. We stayed on as the management team for a few years, and then I got a midlife crisis. I didn't want to buy a fast car or do anything silly, but I thought, I wonder whether I could do something different rather than working for somebody else. So rather than an insolvent company, I looked to buy a profitable business that was up and running. And 5 years ago, last Thursday, I bought my first business and then have grown that since then and acquired other businesses and started new businesses as well over the last 5 years. So similar but different story.
Fantastic. Thank you, James. If you'd like to pass the microphone back. So different experiences of starting a business, showing that there are lots of different ways to get into business. So one of the questions that I'm always asked in terms of starting out on the business journey is, what was the first challenge that you faced when you first decided to do this? Yeah. What was the first thing that came to your mind where you said, right, I need to get on top of this, I need to understand this? What was your very first challenge?
It's from two different angles, really. So the manufacturing business, we started from scratch. The first challenge is getting a customer, somebody that doesn't know you, to part with their money for a company that they don't know, that they've never worked with before, in the hope of a product coming to them in the future. So for the first thing is to get somebody that's not a friend, family member or relation to actually spend money with your business. With an acquisition, again, we've got two different acquisitions here, but with a profitable acquisition, for me it was keeping the team together, because I didn't employ them, they were employed by the previous owner, and it was about keeping everything going and keeping that smooth transition. When you do an acquisition, everybody thinks they're going to be fired, because that's all you ever see on the movies. That's the Pretty Woman movie going back. That's what he used to do, was buy a big company, break it off and sell it off into little parts. So they think that's what you're going to do, which is totally opposite to what I do. And most companies, when they do an acquisition, they want the people there. That is actually what you're buying. Company is a company of people. Doesn't matter what it does, it's a group of people. So for me, the first thing that I try and do is stabilize that team and get the best from them. And I've got 3 questions I asked them, but we'll come on to that later.
Yeah, I completely support that. My latest acquisition, that was exactly what was needed. It was about a team that had been there, some 10 plus years and needing to offer stability, security, and a way forward under my leadership. So that is a massive challenge. I think for me, personally, the challenge has been managing multiple businesses on my own. Although I've got an amazing senior management team, I've got an incredible finance director, an incredible supply chain manager. Apart from the 2 of them, that's my senior leadership team, and I'm the MD of 4 businesses, and it's really, really hard. So I think when you're as ambitious as I am and as driven, you do take on a lot, and you also are a perfectionist and you try and do everything perfectly. And unfortunately, juggling all those balls is really, really tough, and it's probably the biggest challenge that I'm facing now with 4 very rapidly growing companies, which is incredible, but equally very, very challenging. Making sure we've got the infrastructure in place to support that growth. And I've just had a baby in the last 18 months, so that's another business that I'm nurturing. And the hardest one yet, but the most rewarding. So I think that for me, that's the biggest challenge. And then I think the third point I'd make with liquidity in business is cash. So I think funding, all of my businesses are self-funded. that has been immensely challenging because, you know, any profit I make, I put back into them. I move the money around the businesses to support one that's not doing as well. And, you know, it's a constant juggle to grow a business with especially in the current economy, with making sure you are solvent, you have cash in the bank, and you can support its growth.
Mine's probably a little bit different in as much as in anything that I did before in estate agency and recruitment, I'd worked for great organisations where they really train you so well to do that job excellently. So when I decided to take on this whole market that I knew absolutely nothing about, mine was probably more like personal growth and like being brave and visible, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done without showing up like on video on social media every day, which is totally cringe, but it's how I developed the business and how I got where I wanted to be. So I think that would probably be my biggest challenge and decision in the beginning. It's like, you're going to go for it and you just got to keep going.
Yes, my question, you're obviously all have come from completely different
Agency and recruitment.
A lot of you in this room, because you're
So
here
when I
now,
decided to-
are entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs, or you're connected to somebody who is, and therefore this is of specific interest to you. I'm an entrepreneur, so is Paul. What, if you could do this in a couple of seconds, what's your long game? Where do you want to go? National? You're looking to retire? You're looking to sell on? I'm not asking you to divulge any commercial sensitivities, but what are you doing when you get up in the morning? Do you go to bed thinking, in the morning I'm going to go and buy another company, I'm going to start another company, or I'm going to grow this one? Or is it, you know, this is really fun and I'm just enjoying what I'm doing? Where are you on your own journeys?
My vision in the beginning was always to take curly hair care to the mass market. So until I've achieved that, I won't stop. So I've been talking to and calling out supermarkets, Tesco's, Ocado, all of these, and having conversations with those. When I get to that point, my vision is that someone with curly hair grows up knowing what to do with it, feels confident in themselves with their hair. So once that's happened, I'll happily lay in the sun.
Well, that's good, because I have a granddaughter with hair like yours, and we never know what to do with it.
I wish I was that clear and concise. I'm immensely driven. I get up in the morning and the drive has just never, ever gone since I was in my early 20s. And I don't see that dying out. And the joke in my office is always, what's the next business she's going to acquire? And I keep saying, that's enough for me. It's never going to be enough. Like, I think for the brands, it's about international growth. It's about creating brands that promote Kent, that are doing a great thing for our economy, for us as a county. I'm immensely proud of what we've created in my brands for where we live. But international expansion is where we're in 20 countries. I want to be in 30 by 2028. You know, we're pushing to high growth for all those businesses. My manufacturing arm for my condiments, we're just starting contract manufacturing in a big way. So we've got big ambitions for that business. And my wholesale business, we want to be one of the best cheese and charcuterie distributors in the UK. So it's never going to stop. And I haven't got an exit strategy, I'll be honest. I want to keep going while I have got this drive. And as soon as I start not enjoying it as much as I do, then there'll be a discussion.
Interesting, isn't it? One of my acquisitions, or several of my acquisitions, are in the funeral profession, so funeral directors. And buying established businesses, some nearly 250 years old, and buying them from different owners that have then gone on to do different things or have waited too long. So one of my acquisitions, the owners were 88 and 89 years old when they sold their business. Lovely couple. Sadly, the gentleman's passed away now, and we carried out his funeral. But it was too late. Most money they'd ever had, but the quality of life and the longevity of life wasn't long enough. I'm reminded every single day how short life truly is. Most of us know that expression. Most of us have said that at one point or another every single day because of what I do in various businesses. I'm reminded of that. So I don't want to wait till I'm 88 and 89 to sell my businesses. And I also have seen on another end of the spectrum where another acquisition gave them a very fair price and paid them all the money and then some, and now they've done whatever they've done with it and haven't got that money anymore. And I don't want to be in that position where I run out of money and I've still got potentially 10, 20, 30 years to go. So doing acquisitions and seeing what I see every day reminds me that actually we're only here for a very, very short period of time. I don't want to work every single day of my life. What I want to do is enjoy what I do. I really enjoy helping others now to grow and develop in their leadership and with their businesses. And I take real enjoyment from that. And that's something I want to get into more whilst my other businesses run and continue to do well, continue to serve the families we're privileged enough to serve. So there is an exit strategy, and it's almost a not what I don't want to do. So we're working on that now as to how quickly can we get that level of lifestyle that we want. There's a great podcast by Stephen Bartlett with the comedian Jimmy Carr, and he quoted the phrase that I'm enough. Doesn't mean that I know everything, doesn't mean that I've got more money than somebody who had a lot of money a little while ago, 100 billion less now, Elon Musk, but I'm enough. Just over a year ago, I was looking at 7 acquisitions. And I just thought, why am I doing this for me personally? I was just laying more tunnel for the deferred payments, for the interest and the loans and everything else to get to whatever I was trying to get to. And it wasn't for me at that time. So I closed all of those down, said thank you very much, good luck, helped them to find other people, and made the decision that I'm enough, I've got enough. I don't want to conquer the world now personally in that realm. I don't want to be the richest person in the world. I want to enjoy my life. I was talking to my friend over there about the North Coast 500. Who's heard of the North Coast, the NC 500 up in Scotland, 500 miles around the top of Scotland? I haven't done it yet. It's on the list. But I will never do it if I'm constantly working. So something's got to give.
Cool, thank you for that. Just out of interest, I had a goal in my business, which was to retire early at the age of 50, okay? That came and went 20 years ago, and since then I've launched 3 more businesses. I think some of us just can't give up, you know, it just gets in your blood. A quick show of hands, how many people here run their own business? Nearly everyone, okay. Can I ask you a personal question? How many people started this purely for the money? No one. It's very rare. I mean, I know some of you are lying, but in all the people I know that run businesses, their motivation for doing it is very rarely just the money. Yeah, it's the creativity of doing it. It's doing something different. It's seeing something that you can do that somebody else isn't doing. There's lots of motivations for it.
Which is just as well, because when you are building a business, you don't make any money, do you? You are pouring it back in. You're paying your staff. You're buying another gallon of petrol. You're putting another piece of machinery in your workshop. You're not getting it. So those people that think that you own your own businesses and therefore you're rich, absolutely are just not with it.
Absolutely. Well, I launched an internet business in 1990 odd. And apart from everyone going, into what? I made my first £25 4 years after I started the business. So it definitely wasn't about the money. You know, fast forward and it did well, but it's a journey. Okay, I've got a couple of other questions I want to ask the panel later on, but I think I want to turn it over to the audience now. Has anybody got a question they'd like to ask? Yep, let's...
Thank you. I'm launching a business today. In actual fact, thank you. I brought it forward a couple of weeks because I'm not really that ready, but I thought it would be a perfect opportunity at this sort of show. Now, I'll quickly explain what the business is, and then what I'm looking for is a bit of a steer. I've designed 100 websites, and I've got them online that are available for anybody who wants to start a business or in whatever circumstances, where they can pay $49 and have one of my websites up and running within 30 minutes. On top of that, I do free hosting for life. So you never pay for any hosting fees at all. Websites are all top notch. They've got all the bells and whistles, the AI, everything on them. I haven't got a single customer because it's day one. If you were in my shoes and you think you've got a good product, how would you start the marketing process?
So I love social media. I've built a big community of over like 350,000 or something like that now. So I would go and hang out where those people are and just be yourself. That's one of the ways and hows that I'm comfortable to do this. I just turn up. I know their problems because I've been through their issues or similar, and just keep talking about their issues and the challenges that they may have and how your product fixes it. And a bit of humour or lightheartedness never goes amiss in those realms. So wherever business people are hanging out online, you need to be in there too. But just be like yourself and be friendly and be helpful. It doesn't have to feel cringy. If you're worried about like what the strategy needs to look like or what you need to say, I would just be there, be helpful, and tell people what you've got and why it's great.
It was interesting. What's the statistic? It was a statistic for small businesses that don't have a website. Can you remember? You told me this.
Sorry, there's 70% of small businesses still don't have a website or digital engagement. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good start, right? If it was 99%, maybe it's not the business to go into. The old phrase, it's not what we know, it's who we know, okay? You're in a room inside other rooms of entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs or business people, and what you're offering is something fairly unique. You know, I'm sure you've done your market research on who else offers something similar, but just start with who do you know? And it's like LinkedIn. We've got first connections on LinkedIn, second and third. Who's your firsts? Who's your seconds? How can you get them to be a first connection? How then can you then reach out to others as well? And lastly, it's about getting reviews from the first clients you get, and lots and lots and lots of feedback. It won't all be positive. I would almost ignore the positive because that's not very helpful. Look and embrace the constructive feedback to tweak it and make it even better.
I think just leaning into that point about who you know, my first bit of advice, which helped me so much on the early days, is actually utilising the people who support you and who are your kind of cheerleaders, and get them to use your platform, and then they will then recommend, and that they can be case studies for your brand as well. And I think definitely use the people around you, network, and offer some great deals to get kind of case studies in, and then expand from there, because ultimately you want people using your new software. So yeah, absolutely, I'd go from there.
If you pass that back to Julie.
Could I also add to that? The Federation of Small Businesses. I don't know whether you remember.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Free banking. Every young company needs free banking, don't they? I mean, I'm 15 years old now and I've still got free banking through the FSB. So I don't pay a penny on a £2 million turnover. So it's worth joining the FSB, and they've got good connections.
One thing I'd say, having worked in that business arena, is to understand why 70% of small businesses don't have a website. A lot of them have capitulated and have a Facebook page or maybe a LinkedIn profile, but they don't have a website. The reason they don't have a website is twofold. One, they don't understand what needs to go on it. Yeah, they go, I don't know what to put on it, And the second thing is what they perceive to be the cost. Yeah, so they go, I'm going to pay 10 grand for a website and it's going to have my name and address on it. But, why am I doing that? So the task from a marketing point of view is to show them for $49, they're going to get a fully functioning website. And if I may make a suggestion, if you're going to target a customer, maybe put up a spoof website with that customer's name on it and go, this is your website, do you want to buy it? Can I just pass the mic to Sam and get Sam to introduce himself quickly?
I must apologise to the room. I had in my schedule that I was due in next door at 11:30. The only reason I know I'm meant to be sat here right now is because I saw my face on the banner outside. It's like, what? You know, so I must apologise. I would have been here if I'd known that I was meant to be sat here at 10:30. So just listening to what everyone's saying, maybe just to add, like, I would echo everything everybody else has said, but just to add another layer to it in terms of longer term progression, because we launched a new website for our business last year. We had one at the start, and it was like a kind of just get us off the ground style website, but as your business evolves and grows up a bit and you have to do some leveling up, that sort of next stage of website development, and that might mean that you work with a completely different provider, which we did. You know, look at your competition or your peers in the market and what they're doing. Like, if there's a company out there that you aspire to be like, have a good look at what they're doing. You know, a bit of espionage is fine. We actually identified a website, not really from a competitor, but from a business that's got a very, very good reputation in a similar thing to what we do. And we just literally contacted the company that did their website and got them to develop something similar for us. And the cost of it was like, I thought it was going to be 3 times as much. It was like 5K for our website. Really not that much. Bit of input from us, and then spend a bit of time just thinking about like the content that you're going to put on there, because your different platforms, like your socials and your website, I do think the sort of the language that you use, the style at which you engage with your people is definitely different. We try to make our LinkedIn a little bit more kind of informal. You know, show different sides to the business. We'll have like a people post. We'll have a, you know, sometimes if we can, a social value post, and then there's all the stuff about what you're doing. Don't always just pump it out there about like, this is the next greatest thing we're doing. Like, you can actually have some stuff that's a bit different on there. But on your website, you might want to have a bit more of a corporate feel and approach to it. Perhaps it depends at what stage your business is at. We definitely did it from a growing up perspective. It was like, we need to level our website up to be where we're at now.
Any other questions from the floor? Yeah, Richard.
Hi there. Can I just ask the panel, one of the things I think for a lot of young entrepreneurs and people coming into business is they look and they see, obviously all of you have got different backgrounds and starting from different points, but one of the key things is, how do you fund it in the first place? So if you're going to acquire a business, how you start the business off. I mean, with Heather, obviously you're starting with a product which you don't really know how it's going to be made or whatever, so you've got to sort of find the right people, and when you're building the right people, you know, it's a huge thing, obviously, with acquisitions and taking over a business. It's where does that money come from in the first place? Because obviously you might have the passion and the energy to run a business, and you might have great ideas, but it's sort of, how do you take that step from beginning to the next stage?
For me, I've actually been part of some great organisations. There's one called By Women Built that I'm part of, and there's actually a huge funding gap for female founders. So it's something that I'm actually only really getting to grips with right now, but there's something like less than 3% of funding goes to female founded businesses. And I just think that's just utterly ridiculous. I was in Goldman Sachs, and we're having a really big debate on it. So I'm finding out lots more about it, exposing myself to all the information that I'll need to persuade VCs and investors to invest. But from the beginning, it's literally been grow with everything that I've done. So I'm completely bootstrapped. I don't have anywhere to go for money, really. So I'm just working on that. I'm part of NatWest Accelerator as well. I've been selected for all these different programs. So I'm just really digging deep and trying to work out what those next steps are for Curly Girl Method Club, because we were asked by Walmart to supply. And we've had some really exciting conversations, but the only way to get there is having that investment for our inventory to jump in the ring. And because I'm female, only 3% of us get the money. So.
Yeah, I completely support that. I mean, I was actually at a HSBC event yesterday hearing about their funding programme that's specifically for women that they've launched, and £6 million has already gone out to female founders. So definitely HSBC is worth talking to with their new initiative. So for me, as I said earlier, I took over insolvent businesses. So there was a need for bankrolling the businesses in their inception. So for that, I was able to put a little bit of personal finance into it. And then everything from there has been about driving profit. We hit profit month one of my first management buyout. So for us, it was quite easy because it didn't have a huge cost to like run the business. The overheads were quite low. It was quite a lean structure. So what we did is we just reinvested all the profits. And as we heard earlier, you take a few years of really low salary and you put it all back into the business. And I just did that for a lot of years, which meant that now the businesses are self-funding. I mean, since then, I've been very fortunate in the food manufacturing space in Kent. There was a lot of grants available. So I've been able to secure a lot of grants over the years. We're probably up to about, across the businesses, about £1.2 million of grant funding from Kent and Medway, which has been over the last 10 years. So that's been really important for our growth. For our international growth, the Department of International Trade, now the DBT, they were very good at supporting match funding as well. So I would definitely look when you're starting your business to funding pots, like where you can access grants, where you can access low interest loans, where you can get support match funding for growth, because in my sector, there was always quite a lot. I mean, it's changing now, it's challenging. I got some money from a rural development fund from Dover District Council recently, which has been incredible for building our new facility. And that was the last grant I've accessed, which was this year, but equally, there's not a lot around anymore. But hopefully that will change. So I would say grants, low interest loans, startup business loans, and try and get as profitable as quickly as possible and reinvest that money. I mean, that's got to be the aim.
Yeah, cash flow for a starting business. So I'm not going to disagree with anything Laura's said, but I'm going to just take it to a different avenue. So I've started a business from my sister-in-law's dressing table with a laptop and a fax machine and nothing. It's extremely hard to make any sort of money that is then profit that then you can pay your bills, plus the company's bills, plus buy more stock or whatever else. It's really, really hard. There's no two ways about it. Fast forward 15, 20 years when I acquired my first business, which was 5 years ago now, I was trying to do it without putting any of my own money in. And I can never remember it. I think it was £6,000 or £9,000 I put in the last minute because the solicitors needed something for something, and I got it back out within 2 days from the business I acquired because it had it in its bank account. I would never encourage somebody to start a business where there's already an existing one. I would encourage somebody to acquire a business that's already doing well and is profitable, because on day one, money flows into your business. Use other people's money, use the existing company owners' profits potentially. That cash sitting in the bank is the business's, it's not theirs, even though they think it is. If it's theirs, then you try and take it out without having to pay 40% tax on it. So there's different ways you can do it, and like I said, I've used other people's monies, whether that's high street banks, which is always the best and most cheapest low rate of interest, second tier banks, and on and on and on, friends and families, other investors, to raise the money you need to buy the business and then pay them back from there. Deferred elements, so you're paying the owner over a period of years for their business, because as Paul said, nobody put their hand up when they said they started their business for money. And it's often the case when people sell their business, they're interested about the money they're going to get, but they are always more interested in their team, their staff, and what you're going to do with their business and their business name. Always. So you can utilize that to pay for the business, and that's what I've done with multiple businesses now. I've paid millions of pounds for businesses doing that method, and I've also paid £1 for a business, which is also very profitable as well. So I always say money is never the problem. There is trillions of dollars that exchange hands every single day around the world. Trillions. You can get money for any good, profitable business. It's quite easy to do that. Or set up a deal with the seller that you give them something, initial consideration on day one, and then a deferred consideration over 3, 5, however many years, so that they've got that coming in as well. but it's a lot harder to start a business from scratch every single time. So there's something you can do, or buy into, or merge, or something. That would be my encouragement and recommendation.
Right, I'm going to be really, really honest about our situation because we're still very much in like a startup kind of launch mode, but we have managed to succeed in growing our business 50x in the last 4 years. But with that has come some extraordinary challenges with cash flow, with how we fund that. So in the early days, when we started, we just chucked in 15k of our own cash just to get it going. It's needed a little bit more than that since then. Low salaries, the cost of growing a business and kind of delivering a service to your customers. We're a service-led business. It's all about people, our business. So the biggest cost in our business is people, and then things like materials and then comes overhead and stuff like that. But like it's the cost of employing people. How do you fund that? We looked at many different avenues, and I would always say the cost of debt is a lot less than the cost of giving away equity. So be very careful about making decisions around equity and funding that you might receive into your business. We've managed to, we're where we're at right now with 100% equity retained in the business, but we've borrowed a lot of very expensive money. In the early days, when our business was young and couldn't really sort of prove to any major, whether it be a high street bank and the like loan schemes and all those things, like we couldn't really get it because we were still just a very young small business. So we just went to the likes of these growth capital lenders that charge you about 30% APR, and we just borrowed, and we're still completely jacked up with that borrowing. But we're now in a position now, 4 years later, where we literally came out of a meeting in London yesterday with a new bank who's going to provide a lot of refinancing of all that debt, because we're in a much stronger position. We've managed to establish ourselves in the market. We now employ 80 odd people. Just finished our recent year at the end of Feb with a 15 million turnover, and we're a proper business now. So all of that, there's a lot of risk that comes with that borrowing, but at no point have we put our houses on the line of security. Yes, there's personal guarantees in place, but really try to avoid putting your house on the line. Don't do that if you really don't need to, because that's too risky. It's not worth it. But if you've got to borrow a bunch of cash to do it, I've always looked at it, and my business partner as well, is that if we're gonna do this, we're gonna back ourselves. If there's anyone else I'm gonna back to deliver this business, we're gonna do it. And we went for it, and we borrowed a shitload of money for really, really high interest, and we're still repaying that at the moment. But we're now in a position where we have a new bank very interested in our business, and we're going to take away all of that, and we're going to refinance it over a 6-year period at a very sensible interest rate, and cut our monthly outgoings in half, better than half, like by about a third, they reckon. But only now are we able to do that. So it's going to be challenging. So things like your cash flow, and obviously things like being a profitable business, but having to keep an eye on the cash and the pennies is absolutely critical to how you do all of that and managing that. It's very, very hard, but it's doable. So good luck.
Already a good session. I've got one last question to ask you, and keep it short, but most of you have talked at some point about people. I just want to understand from you about talent acquisition. How do you see taking on the right people for your business?
Yeah, so that's a really good one. I think, again, going back to what we talked about marketing earlier. So when you're marketing your business, you're not just attracting customers, you are attracting talent and people to your business. Think a lot about that. And then sometimes you're going to have to offer, unique deals to attract people into your business. We've done a lot of that over the last few years as we've been growing. A better deal on the table to a new employee to convince them to join is the right thing to do, because you just think about that salary number. What difference is $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year going to make to your business overall? not an awful lot if you break it down on a monthly basis, but what that individual can bring to your business, the difference they can make in a year for the sake of 5k, 10k on a salary, it's, you know, if they're the right choice and it's the right person, they'll pay for themselves 100 times over the years.
People. The biggest and most difficult thing in any business. First and foremost, it's your team. They're your people. You've got to treat them well so that they treat the second group of people, which is your clients, your customers, the people that pay you money. And you've got to look after them as well. And the third one that often people forget are your suppliers. You're only as good as the people that support you and help you in your endeavour as well. Very simply, you hire for attitude. You can teach most people things unless you're a brain surgeon, but you hire for attitude. If someone's got a bad attitude, you don't want them as part of your team. They'll bring down everything you've ever stood for and your culture, etc. So yeah, hopefully that's been helpful.
People is the toughest one for me. I've found it really difficult growing my businesses, and I employ 38 staff now, and when it was just the 5 of us at King Crisps, oh God, what bliss did I not know I had? So I do struggle with this, mainly because my type of business, we have a lot of operational staff, including drivers who are out on the road, who need to feel part of a team, who need to feel, you know, engaged, and you've got this divide between office, warehouse, production. That's the biggest challenge for me. One of the things that we've done in our businesses is created really clear values. And those values, all of our management team and all of our staff have to, you know, they're employed on. So they're employed based on those values. They're then managed according to those values. And all the decisions that the businesses make need to be based on those values. And if something doesn't align with those values, either in attitude, in the way that we treat each other, in the way that we're dealing with a situation, then that's very clear to everybody in the business that that person isn't aligning with those values, and we haven't got the right bum on the right seat. And that's something that I've had to be quite brutal about, and it's tough, and I've had to get harder over the years about realising when I've got good talent and when I haven't, and making those decisions very quickly for the business before it damages it. And that is one of the things that I've probably struggled with the most in my leadership positions over the years, is making that decision quickly and kind of standing by it. But values has been a blessing for aligning everything with talent.
I started to grow a team with a unit in Ashford for our warehouse and office, and within 2 years we rapidly outgrew it. So I actually, because I want to go to mass market, I separated parts of my business, and I actually utilise a fulfilment centre in Grimsby, and I have 3 contract manufacturers that I use, and I have another contact for different things. So I've got 11 years recruitment experience. So in terms of team, acquiring people, it's great. People management is just one of those things I think is always going to be taxing. But in this job in e-com, it's a little bit more of a different structure and business model that I have in place.
Fantastic, thank you. We've reached the end of that. I want to say a huge thank you to our panel, Heather, Laura, James and Sam. Thank you so much. Thank you to my co-chair, Gilly Monk of All Health Matters. Thank you all for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the event and all the workshops. Thank you.